Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the February 5th, 2026 meeting of the Springfield Police Advisory Committee to order. Tiffany, will you please call the roll?
Michelle Weber. Here. Josh Aguilar. Cindy Koza.
Yeah.
Jonathan Hayes. Sephu Vallum.
Yeah.
Terry Dillon is excused. Richard Jones.
Here.
Daniel Davidson is also excused. Brett Yancey is excused. Eric Adams.
Here. Okay. Next order of business would normally be approval of the minutes from our meeting on December 4th, but because we don't have a quorum for this evening's meeting, we'll postpone those until our next regular meeting, which I believe would be in April, correct?
Yes, April.
Great. Okay. Do we have anyone
We don't
for
have any.
business from the audience?
We don't have anybody online or in person in attendance.
Okay. And we'll move on to our next agenda item, which we would normally have committee response, but since there was no public comment, we'll skip over that and move on to business from Springfield Police Department. Deputy Chief Crawley, please.
Well, I can't help but think that because I'm here, nobody wanted to show up. But, trying to introduce humor to today. A lot of good things happening at SPD right now. Since your last meeting, we've hired 6 police officers. We have a couple more in the hopper. Combination of lateral police officers and rookie police officers. And it's a delicate balance to strike when we have so many field training officers to train them. So timing it just right, getting people hired, getting people on the street, getting some people go to the academy while lateral officers are able to go on the street right away with the training officer. It's just a balancing act right now. And then combine that with just what our budget allows us to hire. We're being very creative, and we've got a lot of support from the city to keep moving forward and get people hired to get us up to full staffing. So we're making progress, and I hope that continues. So the next meeting I can share, or Chief Fresh can share with you, even more people get hired. So we'll see how that keeps on going. In December, just a week before Christmas, we participated in Shop with a Cop, is in conjunction with Walmart. And we ran, I think it was 39 kids through Walmart with about 10 staff members, police officers, I think a dispatcher and a records employee assisted as well. And we were able to do it was actually a pretty fun day. It was a hectic morning. We had some gift cards and we took kids out and we went shopping. They had free roam of the store to buy whatever they wanted within, I think it was about $120 gift card each kid was given. And it was, it's always a tough thing to put together for staff. I know Wendy and Tiffany kind of help organize this. And when we get there, we all have a fun time doing it because it's typically some disadvantaged youth. It's kids coming from tough backgrounds. Some of them are shopping for themselves. Some of them are shopping for their siblings. And a few of them are shopping for mom and dad. And it's pretty genuine most of the time when they're trying to pick something out, something cute for mom, something handy for dad, and some cool toys for their brothers and sisters. So that made Christmas week a pretty fun time for staff to participate in that. So some positive things. Moving forward to flock cameras. It's a story that keeps on going, and we're going to keep on going with the conversation on how to move forward, if possible, with LPR technology. But in the meantime, all flock cameras have been removed in the city of Springfield. We reached out to the company initially, probably since your last meeting. The decision was made to cover all the cameras because Flock couldn't come out right away and take them down. So we took proactive measures to cover the cameras because with a community response and council request, working with our city manager, that was the decision that was made at the time. And we need to continue to engage with our community and city leadership if we want to be able to move forward with this. But Flock was able to finish up last week removal of all cameras in Springfield. And that's a conversation I'd like to keep having with our community leaders, our citizens, our council, but a lot of that's going to be based on steps that the legislature takes at this point. There are several bills and there's meetings that are taking place with legislators in the state, as well as our community members, to discuss how we can move forward. So once we know the direction that the state law will allow us to move in, that will allow us to vet a company or another company or work through our policies. If this is a program we can indeed put in place, it will be in compliance with state law that's being proposed. Doing it right now, it's not reasonable, because if the state law comes out, it's contrary to something we're doing, it's a waste of time, money, and resources. So we're going to wait for the state to give us guidance. We'll work with our city leadership and community members on how to move forward with that program if it is feasible to do. Another note, 2 days from now, I'm going to be jumping in the Willamette River along with a few of my coworkers and various police officers from around the community as part of the Polar Plunge event, fundraiser for Special Olympics. We participate in every year. Different people participate every year. I think I missed last year because I was sick, but previous years I've done a few in a row, 2 or 3 in a row. So it's a fundraiser for Special Olympics that we're proud of. It's a great awareness campaign for Special Olympics. It's obviously good optics for the police to participate in this. And again, a lot like Shop with a Cop, it's an opportunity for our officers to engage with community members in a non-enforcement mechanism, in a friendly event. We're hanging out with family members of the Special Olympians, and we're hanging out with Special Olympics folks, and we're hanging out with a lot of other community groups around town from various companies and organizations, from Weyerhaeuser to the Eugene M's and various banking institutions, everything in between. So it's a fun day for us. It's a little chilly. It's a fun opportunity. And it's just one of the many things that SPD does to participate in Special Olympics. We currently have I want to say weightlifting team. It's a powerlifting team that we are participating in training for the next events. Based on schedules and availability, different officers participate at different times, as well as during summer games and medal handout ceremonies. Again, it's one of those things that a lot of officers and employees look forward to and put a smile on our face for the day. So if you're looking for something to do Saturday morning, head on out to Maury Jacobs Park is where we're going to launch from. But do you want to come out and watch a bunch of cops and everybody else included jump in the river for a good cause? It's a fundraiser, it's a good awareness event, and we're happy to participate in it. Another note I have is I think it started probably before your last meeting, but we're trying to raise awareness. SPD K9 team started a Instagram page. What does that mean for those of us who are a little older, don't participate in a lot of social media? It's a good opportunity for our team to share the good things that they're doing, the fun stories they have, sharing pictures, photos, videos of the dogs, working and playing, being silly, having some fun, and sharing with our community members the work that our K9 team does on the streets as well as behind the scenes. It's a fun opportunity for them to get the word out. We have always, as long as I've worked here and beyond, we've enjoyed a lot of support for our K9 program from the community, from fundraising efforts to participating in the K9 competition to ride-alongs with K9 officers. And this is just another effort to keep that relationship going. We have a lot of support, and we want to show our community members what we're doing with their tax money and what we're doing with the resources that we're being provided. And it's a great opportunity through social media to share the fun stuff we're doing. So if you have an Instagram and you'd like to follow, I just put a little search in there, SPD K9, look for it, and it'll have a picture of the K9 badge on there. Click and follow and enjoy the positive stories that will come from that. I think that's all the official stuff I have to share. Not much else going on. It's good to see everybody. I'm happy to participate today. I'm sorry you don't get Chief Fresh, but this is fun for me to participate in these meetings as well. So that's it for me.
We're grateful to have you. Yeah. Good luck on Saturday with the Polar Plunge. We'll be right behind you from a safe riverbank somewhere elsewhere.
Very good.
My 12th year.
That's really.
Yeah.
Any questions for Deputy Chief Crawley? I was just going to ask, as SPD continues to look into possibility of implementing the LPR technology, is City Council still the right forum for providing any input or community feedback on that potential future implementation?
If you're asking me, I think that's the appropriate mechanism through your counselor of your ward to reach out to them, whether you're in support or against. I think it's important for our council members to hear from the people in our community what they think about it. So I think that's the appropriate forum, whether it's messaging through them or speaking to city council via the internet or in person. I think it's important that the decisions they make are informed decisions by all of our community members. As I know it's difficult for folks to make these meetings and attend them and speak at them. But that's the only way our leadership can make decisions is based on that information. So I would encourage that.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is business from the committee. And first item under that, we're fortunate this evening to have City Attorney Mary Bridget Smith with us, who's going to be taking us through a couple different topics. We've had a couple memos in our meeting packet this evening that she'll be going over, including just in general boards and commissions and the committee's guide from the city, our bylaws, and then also a little bit on Oregon public meeting law and things that we should be aware of as we conduct these meetings going forward. So Mary Bridget, I'll turn it to you.
Great, thank you, Eric. So hello, everyone. I'm Mary Bridget Smith. I work as the city attorney for the city, and I'm happy to be here tonight. And I want to thank you for your service on the committee. I'm gonna turn this way, but Zoom folks can still hear me okay? Okay. All right, so I really appreciate the work that people do who volunteer for the boards, committees, and commissions. It's an important part of the work of the city, and I sit through a lot of city council meetings where they interview people and the council takes it really seriously, and they're really, I think, appreciative of your efforts. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about some kind of procedural aspects of being a committee member. I thought what I would do is just go through some high points on the attachments, and then if anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer those questions, or if you think of questions later, just let Tiffany know, and then I can follow up with you separately. So I know sometimes later you're like, oh yeah, what about this situation? So the documents you have tonight, this first one is this guide, which was really just meant to be a welcoming document for volunteer members and cover sort of all aspects of being a member of a board, commissioner, committee, sort of a first place to look if you have a question. Talks about our form of government and the types of committees that we have and how people are appointed. It also lets you know that these types of committees are subject to Oregon public official ethics laws. And like Eric said, public meetings and public records is something to keep in mind as well. So really just meant to be a resource. The other document is your bylaws. These are sort of the rules for how your committee operates. They're all a little different across the city and the types of committees that they have, but in your case, SPAC has particular membership requirements for people. So it would have stuff like that, the purpose of your committee. And there's some information in here in terms of meetings and conduct of meetings and a code of conduct, which is really just meant to remind folks that, even though this is a volunteer role, it's important just to be professional and respectful to one another when you are working on one of these committees, and keeping in mind that these are open to the public and an opportunity for the public to interact with the city, and that it's really important that people feel heard and respected. And then it lays out the different positions. So you'll have like a chair and a vice chair. So really basic stuff that you would probably see on any committee that you would be on. And then the other place you can look for information about committees is the council has some operating policies and procedures that are on its website. That has overall rules about all council committees that also could be a good reference. And then the last thing is kind of the bigger topic, which is, rules and guides around public meetings and public records and ethics. So, for example, tonight you don't have a quorum. So this is a 10-person committee. A quorum of this committee would be 6 people. So you would not, technically, when you don't have a quorum, all you are supposed to do is set the next meeting. But the nature of this committee, and you don't meet very often, is really what you would do in this instance, what you're doing now. Just don't take any official action. Don't vote on anything. But you could hear an update. I would even take, if a community member came in here, I would even take that testimony. I just wouldn't, I would explain to them that, hey, we don't have a quorum, you may want to come back or submit something in writing. And then I wouldn't take any votes or really engage with folks or make decisions or bring up stuff that's not on the agenda and have a whole new discussion. Just keep it like more instructional or updates, that kind of thing. Because I think it can be challenging as you, I mean, you probably don't have a quorum because it's people have lots of commitments, right? So it's just hard to like kind of keep resetting meetings for folks. So I think we always want to be mindful that this is a volunteer thing that people are doing on their own time. Government ethics is an area that is that applies to volunteers like board and commission members. It's not as, I don't think, a significant issue as you would find, like, for example, for Councilor Weber as an elected official. I think the thing I would just always keep in mind in your role as a SPAC member is if you're getting a benefit, like someone wants to buy you lunch or they want to give you something because you're a SPAC member and they think they can influence you, that would be inappropriate under the ethics laws. But other than that, you're really, I don't think, going to run into a lot of situations, the same level of situations as an elected official would have. And then also just keep in mind that, you know, these resources here are government resources. So you wouldn't come here and be able to like use the copy machine or use other materials outside of your role as a SPAC member. So those are kind of the big things to keep in mind for ethics. I think one area that board and commission members should really be thinking about, particularly now, I think when things are, when we have a lot of political activity happening, is that people may know that you're a SPAC committee member. And if you're speaking out on something, you have the right to speak out. Like, let's say you're posting something online, but it would be really important to say, this is my own opinion, or I'm not speaking on behalf of SPAC, or I'm just speaking on my own behalf about what I think about X, Y, and Z. Sometimes people have that on their like introduction on their online identity on a platform, you know, it might say opinions my own. And then that way, if you're speaking out about something that is related to police, that people are going to know, oh, he's, you know, that's just Dick Jones talking his own opinion. He's not representing the city of Springfield and what it thinks about X, Y, and Z. And we have seen more of that, I think, recently. There was a woman who comes in to testify before the city council. She's a member of the planning commission. She's an on-call employee with the library, but she doesn't come in and say, I'm talking to you as a city employee or as a planning commission member. She just comes in and says her piece and then she's done. So that is something I would be mindful of, that it's important that you are not speaking on behalf of the city inadvertently or giving the impression that you're doing so. So something to think about. Does that make sense? Any questions up to now? I thought I would just jump into meetings really quickly and see if you have any questions. So your meetings are public meetings. And so Tiffany sets them up to be in a hybrid format. That's because after the pandemic, the state legislature determined that it really wanted to leverage technology to give the public a better opportunity, an easier opportunity to observe meetings and particularly testify. That's where it's really important. So if you want the ability to folks to either apply or appear remotely or come in person, but the idea being that, you know, this is the people's government and they should have the ability to observe or be here. So it changes I think the format of the meeting, but we've all kind of been doing it long enough now where I think we know kind of where, I guess we're used to it. Public meetings need to be noticed, meaning people need to understand when the meeting is going to happen, where it's going to be, and they need to know enough that they know what you're talking about. So your agendas are like, this is what we're going to talk about. It's the SPAC meeting. Here's where it is. You have to record or take minutes. And then actions that you take need to be in the context of the public meeting in a public session, meaning you're not deliberating offline via text or email. So like, let's say you're reviewing a policy and maybe you vote on SPAC's recommendation about that policy. That all needs to happen here, like have a discussion here in the meeting. Excuse me. That said, you definitely can email Tiffany about or staff, like about scheduling or things that aren't related to the meeting. Often you will hear people like me really try and warn you about creating like a meeting inadvertently by emailing everybody and reply all. But if you're just doing straight up business stuff where you're trying to figure out if the meeting location changed or the date changed, or you want to ask for have a question, it's totally fine to do via email. You don't have to wait like every 2 months to like come in and do that stuff. So I think it's important just to keep in your head, oh, we did the people's business in front of the people and we have it at the meeting. And if you ever have questions about that, the meeting's the perfect place to do it, but you can definitely ask staff and say, I'm thinking about this, what should I do? And then they can let you know. Meetings are enforced by a state government agency, that's the Ethics Commission. There could be personal liability attached to violating a public meeting or an ethics law. The worst it would be a fine. It's often a letter of instruction, but it's certainly not something that we want to do. So we try and be really conservative about how we approach public meetings. And then that way we don't run into a situation where we have kind of like lazy habits and then find ourselves like, oh, we never noticed these the correct way, or we never do this, and then realizing we should have been doing it all along. Think about if you are doing a committee, you can also attend a training that OGEC provides. It's a webinar, it's about 90 minutes, but it would have all the information you wanted to know and more about public meetings and public ethics. They have lots of trainings there, lots of stuff on their website. It's a good resource to look at, and would give you consistent information, I think, about what to be thinking about. Meetings are not public meetings if they're like social gatherings or volunteer. If you guys get together and have volunteer deals or do other things, that's not a public meeting. Don't worry about noticing that. I think that's what I have, unless you have particular questions about or anything you wanted to know, but that's about it.
You got a
Yeah.
question?
Mhm.
On one of the things that you provided talks about like mandatory training requirements.
Yeah.
We have $0
I
expenditure
don't think you have a
here.
big enough budget. Yeah.
Yeah, so is the mandatory training required for this group or not?
This memo was drafted for the after training that had happened. Our city reporter drafted it, and it's the council is the one who has the big enough budget to have to do a training. And that's that training I referred to. They can do a webinar, or so a trainer can come down. So there's no training requirement for this group.
So for us, it'd be just kind of voluntary, just for informational thing to
Yep.
participate
Exactly.
in one of those trainings.
Yeah, if you're curious and wanted to, that option's there and it's free. If not, you can always ask staff or ask myself. Any other questions or anything? Zoom folks? No?
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand. We have our meetings quarterly, and if we think that there's a reason to meet sooner, are we able to ask that of the group or of the chair, or do we not have that option?
You could schedule, you could use your bylaws and work through staff to schedule a meeting. Different than quarterly. You could either reschedule a quarterly meeting or have it more often. I think there might be some information about, you have to vote to have the meeting. How's it work? Can it come up with before? No, this is like this came up.
Special meeting.
That's right.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, the chair can call a special meeting, or the whole committee could decide to have that meeting, to conduct a special meeting. If it's the whole committee doing it in that instance, I'd recommend that you do that at your quarterly meeting. Like, let's say you're all here, you had a quorum tonight and you wanted to meet next month to discuss X, Y, and Z, then you would need the majority. I would recommend you took a vote and a majority of people agreed to have that special meeting, and that's why you did it. Does that help?
Could you kind of, but like, what if, we're not all together and there's something that happens in the community and we are trying to suggest that we meet sooner than like the next quarterly meeting? Can we make that suggestion or vote like through an email, like, yeah, we should meet sooner or not?
I wouldn't recommend doing that via email. I would, in that instance, I think I would ask the chair if they wanted to have a special meeting.
Okay, because I'm really, really grateful for this clarification, because I didn't have one of these documents before to reference, but when I had called a special meeting or asked if we could, the city manager said that we could only do that in a meeting. But that kind of
I think if the committee wants to call a special meeting outside of the quarterly, I would do it in this meeting. I'd say, hey, do we want to have a meeting next month to talk about this? And you vote on it and have it. If you don't have the ability to do that and something happens, then I think the chair, under these rules, I would read that to mean the chair could decide to conduct a special meeting. But it's not like they can just like snap their fingers, right? Then they'd have to coordinate with staff and with the chief to say, okay, this is what we're thinking. And then they would work out the specifics from there.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, anything else?
The only thing that I know it's come back up in the past couple of years, could you maybe go over with them if they are at a community event and representing themselves as SPAC, what they can and can't say? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, so that's sort of related to, like, let's say, you're online or you're at an event. If you're like in your role as SPAC, as a SPAC member, let's say SPAC's doing some kind of volunteer event, then it would be important that you were clear about not expressing your own personal opinion in a way that would look like you're talking for the city. So, my thought in that situation is you're not elected officials, you're appointed volunteers. The purpose of SPAC is to, further the police department. So I would be careful about trying to speak out at those instances without being clear, saying, oh, this is just me, Mary Bridget. I think they should actually, I think police, blah, blah, blah. Make sure at those events you're saying that, and keep in mind that the other thing about ethics and conflicts of interest and use of office is, I'm talking to you about this very specific set of laws and rules, but it's really often about perception. And if it looks like you're at a SPAC event with your, like in the context of being a SPAC member, and you're talking out on things and you're not being clear that you're sharing your own personal opinion, people might be like, it could raise a question about what's going on with that committee. And so you just sort of have to be above reproach a little bit in terms of being clear that you're expressing your own opinion, or you're talking about, a city opinion about something, or a city position on, let's say it was flock cameras. You could be like, no, the city got rid of flock cameras. They're not doing them anymore. That's, in your role as SPAC. If you were pro flock camera, you would want to be like, hey, this is just my opinion. I think flock cameras are fine. Or this is just my opinion. I don't like them. Be very clear in that respect. Does that make sense? But if it's just like, what's going on with flock cameras as a SPAC member, you'd be like, oh yeah, they don't have them anymore. They're taking them down. Or, you can share the information you learn here for sure.
Great. Thanks, Mary Bridget.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get going unless you need anything else, but again, thank you for your service, and it's good to see these documents kind of at work,
Well, yeah, thank you for taking time to brief us this evening, and
No problem.
we'll
see you guys around.
call you back if we've got, I'll let you know if there are any other questions that come up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next item of business under business from the committee. In our packet this evening, we have a draft table of contents for the jail policy manual, and I know Tiffany wanted to give us a little bit of an overview on that. And this is something that we could have further discussion on at subsequent meetings, but Tiffany, what would you like to share?
I just wanted to let you guys know I went through and each section, and I have notes written that like section A is 53 pages, section B is 48, C is 62, D is 44, E is 85, F is 26, G is 32, H is 25, and I is 34. So if we do decide, obviously not this meeting because we don't have a quorum, that we want to start reviewing these in maybe by sections, or if there's a section that you guys are particularly interested in. I wanted you to know how the size of them.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So we have full disclosure of what we're getting ourselves into.
Right. Yeah, and since not everybody's here to decide what we can talk about at next meeting, and hopefully people have a chance to look at this and say, oh, hey, I really want to know about the grievance procedure or something like that.
Right. And I guess for Richard and Seifu, we received the full text of the draft policy manual, I believe, was it 2 meetings ago now,
It was
Tiffany?
October.
We've been accredited.
So I'm not sure if
Maybe
you've,
it was
you've been,
before.
yeah. If you haven't received full copies of that, we can certainly get those into your hands. At that point, we didn't have a table of contents ready, and we thought this could be helpful to help just get a full understanding of the full content of the document and maybe identify sections of it that either the committee or the individual committee members might have a greater interest in taking a closer look at. So without several members of the committee missing this evening, probably can't get too far into that discussion, but I think for now, I'd just ask us to take a look at the table of contents, reference the full copy of the document once you get that in your hands, and then maybe at the next regular meeting in April, we can make decisions on which portions of it we would want to take a closer look at. That being said, Tiffany, I'm not sure what is your timetable for trying to finalize and adopt this document?
It is final.
It is final. Okay, great. So it's just a matter of us reviewing it and bringing up any questions that we might have then.
Yeah, and at
Okay.
the April's meeting, we can also discuss a subcommittee for the annual report.
Right. Yeah, that's coming back around again, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So committee members, does that seem like an acceptable approach for now?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Be able to get,
Thank you.
for those of us that didn't get it.
Yeah, I can email it to you guys. It's 422 pages long.
Better read.
Yes.
Provocative reading.
That's stop short of saying that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate you preparing that and sending it to us for reference.
I have a
Last
question.
item on our agenda. Oh,
Oh.
sorry. Go ahead.
I just had one question about the table of contents. Maybe you guys talked about it if you already saw the other document stuff, but I just kind of wondered where the number scheme came from and how that works.
From Oregon Sheriff's,
Oregon State Sheriff Association.
there's jail standards. They are named A101, A102, A103. And so these were built to match all the standards we had to pass for accreditation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll move on to member share, information share. Let's see, through the list of our committee members, I guess, Cindy, you would be first. Anything for you?
I can share an experience that we had recently with the group. So for those of you that don't know me, I have a caregiving agency in Springfield. We work with some of the most vulnerable adults. I have over 250 employees that are here in Springfield, and then I have over 80 clients living here in Springfield. And recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had a situation at a supported living home where a client who had never had this kind of behavior before, so very unusual for him. In the middle of the night, he started a fire with a cigarette and put it in a bag and put it on his bed. And he was speaking in different languages, saying some really scary, awful things. The staff were really scared. They called the police. The police came out. It wasn't a very good experience all the way around, but the police didn't talk to this individual, didn't go in the room. They just talked to some of the staff, and then the staff left, and then they left. And then when I got involved, and it got kind of messy, but at the end of the day, it sounded like there had been some massive changes with something that's called a director hold. And so I kind of thought it might be a good opportunity to share with the group what that director hold means, because it has a big impact on our on the clients that we serve at our company. And at the end of the day, it sounded like we shouldn't be calling the police for that kind of a situation. And also it wasn't really appropriate for cahoots when it's heightened like that, or if it's after their hours or whatever. So anyways, I just thought I'd see if you had any thoughts to say about that.
Deputy Chief, is that something you can speak to?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look something up real quick. I did that. I'm trying to get the right acronym. Mobile Crisis Services for Lane County is a great resource to get involved in a director's hold. Director's holds are essentially physicians putting a mental health hold on a person that's not committed a crime, however, is acting in a way that is a danger to themselves or others possibly. And a physician or a representative of that physician, a medical or mental health professional, can put a hold on somebody to have MCU come pick that person up and take them to Lane County Behavioral Health or a hospital facility for an evaluation. And we're seeing more and more cases across the country in which traditionally police were called to situations like that. Police arrive to deal with the situation. It turns into a use of force event, to the extreme event where it's a lethal force event. And the questions are asked later, why were police dealing with this matter when it was a non-criminal matter, when we can get a physician or mental health professional involved to put a director's hold on somebody. So it's something we're navigating through every time this type of call comes in, trying to determine the appropriate response. When we're dealing with a criminal matter, we need to make sure that somebody we're dealing with has a culpable mental state that is allowing a prosecutor to prosecute that person for the crime being committed. And absent that, it puts police in a position to where we're potentially using force on a subject to take them into custody in a situation where we shouldn't be going hands-on. So using MCU, Lane County Behavioral Health, mental health crisis services, Lane County, and getting a director's hold through them is the appropriate approach. And as we navigate through it, I'd like to develop a protocol for everybody to know from the time of the call being placed to records or 911 to the officer on scene, to where everybody's on the same page of what to expect. It's hard to do because every situation is always a little bit different, but I'd like to try to get everybody on the same page with that. I did hear, Sydney, to what you're speaking of. I believe I heard something about the call, and there was some communication issues between officers, staff at the scene, and trying to get everybody on the same page of what actually occurred and what we could do to be of assistance. So that's something we're going to continue to try to develop a protocol for how to deal with these situations when they come up. More and more often, our supervisors are apprehensive to get officers involved in a situation that's not criminal because it leads to a significant use of force issue, which, in addition to causing harm to the individual or officer, also leads to liability issues for the city and the police department, in which we have a responsibility to avoid litigation or liability issues when it comes to that too. So that conversation will continue, Cindy.
Okay, because so for the director's hold, if I understand it correctly, you're saying that physician has to do that, initiate it, right?
Yes.
But physicians aren't often available 24/7, so it's
Yeah.
I'm not sure what agencies would do in the middle of the night. Someone sets their bed on fire. Like, what do? We have to go call a doctor, get a doctor to help facilitate. Like, it's I mean, I just tell my staff, if you feel scared, you call the police. And then it's becoming like more and more evident that maybe they shouldn't.
Mobile crisis services through Lane County would be the resource to call. However, you can communicate that through a call to the police saying, we'd like mobile crisis services to respond. We have a person that is experiencing a mental health episode. First and foremost, I'll get out there. If somebody's setting their bed on fire, we need to be calling the fire department to respond. That is a fire emergency, and especially within a dwelling or a residence or a building. The fire department is responsible for responding to those situations, but involving the police to request MCS services is that group will send out mental health professionals to network with Lane County Behavioral Health to get somebody possibly evaluated or put on a director's hold, and staff with MCS can initiate that process.
Yeah, I understand that a fire department can be called. I think a lot of times, and I'm assuming for families too that might have individuals in similar situations. But like I have a lot of entry-level caregivers, and so they've never experienced a fire or a situation like this. I mean, this is just how the industry is, right? Entry-level caregivers taking care of these folks. And we try to train them the best that we can, but I don't know the phone number for the fire department. I guess I'd have to look it up. But like when you're scared, call 911. Okay, so that's what they did. They called 911. That's when like 6 officers showed up. So I mean, I feel like I'm just confused when they should maybe call or not call, but it sounds like the mobile crisis unit can respond 24/7. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they're Lane County's resource. Lane County is a large county. It's bigger than several states on the East Coast. They are trying their best to respond and triage appropriately which calls they go to and when they go. A lot of times that will be at the request of police. If there's an emergency such as a fire, calling 911 is appropriate. That 911 dispatcher can start figuring out who to dispatch from there, transfer it to fire, transfer it to PD, go to both. You may get both agencies responding. When the situation is stabilized, if it can be stabilized by police and fire, at that point, we may be the ones that request MCS to respond for a director's hold. It just depends on the circumstances. If it's not emergent, that call 911 would not be appropriate. Obviously, if there's no one in danger and it's not emergent.
Right, okay. And then just to like share, you know, like in this industry, there's a lot of other agencies in town too, but we are the people that oversee the houses, they're called directors. So I think it can be very confusing when caregivers are like, when they're told, because it's happened a few times and it's hard to train over 200 employees that are, you know, 60% turnover the first 3 months, constantly training, you know, what a director's hold is, because they get confused. And so when the police tell them it's a director's hold, they just call the director of that program.
Mhm.
And so but it's not really the director of a program, it's a director, but director actually means position.
It's a term that's defined in Oregon revised statutes. That's why this term is used by police. It's defined in an ORS. Director is it's a legal term within the state law. That's why that term is referenced. Cindy, I don't envy the position you are in, your staff are in. I fully appreciate the services you provide. It's a challenge no matter what. The easy answer is to say we can't do this anymore. Well, that's not a reasonable answer when you have people that are trying to help others in those circumstances. So I fully appreciate the efforts you make to try to help these folks out. The law enforcement intervention is just going to be tricky every time as a case by case basis. Every situation is going to be a little bit different, and I can't give a broad answer to this will happen every time you call police. It's going to depend on various circumstances.
Totally. I definitely see that it is handled differently at different times. And so we even had the police accept a director's hold from one of our directors once, but they're not a physician. So it just gets very confusing. I don't know if the police understand that, like, in this industry, directors are not physicians either, you know, so it just gets a little confusing, and I do my very best to like train and retrain staff on that kind of stuff.
I appreciate that. I think maybe in that instance, what happened is they accepted the person and ended up putting them on a police officer hold instead, because once they were face to face in contact with that person, they had the ability to evaluate the person and put a police officer's hold on them. That law is meant to be when an officer is going about their day and they come across a person face to face, to have the ability to put them on a police officer hold. In that instance, calls for service in which we required to force entry into a house, open rooms, initiate contact another way is not what the spirit of the law for police officer hold was meant to be. And for years, we have been pushing that envelope of forcing contact to evaluate somebody. The spirit of the law was for if we come across somebody in crisis, it allows us to put that hold on them. So it's ever evolving. Your resources, you're never going to have enough resources to do what you need to do. And that's why the reason why we try to be as responsive as we can. And I say try.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm just learning as we go. So I wasn't sure if it would be an expectation that like the officers actually like talk to or get in the same space as the person that we're concerned about, or is it acceptable that they just like talk to a staff and leave?
Oftentimes it's going to be talk with staff and leave, because initiating contact with the subject in which we don't have probable cause to initiate arrest or a criminal investigation puts us in a really sticky situation liability wise. And those situations, and there's a case recently out of Las Vegas, which officers did that, force was used, and it resulted in some significant legal action. So that's always in the back of our minds when we're putting officers in that position.
Right. Okay. And then just how kind of things ended there, I did submit a complaint, and then I ended up playing phone tag with the officer that was calling me, and then I think we just were never able to connect. And I never got a call back after that. So
I'll reach out to the professional standards office and ask them to locate that complaint and respond back to you. There's a couple people that should be able to do that, and I will ask them to recontact you again. Phone tag's a thing in this business because
yes, it is.
we're all working professionals, and that phone call never comes in at the most convenient time, but I will ask them to reach back out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there might be an option to like choose on the complaint form to be contacted like via email or something else instead. So I don't know if that's the thing, but
I will check and see. I think they try to do a notification several ways, but when somebody's calling asking for details, I think it's reasonable to call them back.
oh, I didn't call. I submitted it online, and then he called me, and we were just playing phone tag, like me trying to call him back, but I didn't have his email or another way to contact him.
Okay. I'll ask them to get in touch with you either way. I could reach out using your email that we could figure that out.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, Seifu, anything for you?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things to say. First, Tiffany, thank you so much for the ride along. Yes, and I'm glad Deputy Chief is here and Officer Brand. I really appreciate what he's doing.
Good. Thanks.
Yes,
I'll share that with them.
Yes, please do. And my email actually explained everything from the dispatch to the records. Yes. We're very lucky to have these people there. I really appreciate that. And I think that's pretty much, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard?
I'm the new guy, so I don't really have much yet. I'm just getting my feet on the ground. But I have been to some sporting events recently where our Springfield police officers are present and keeping an eye on the people that are at the sporting events and so forth. I think they had one a couple nights ago where things started to get a little bit heated towards the end of the event, sporting event. And I thought the officers did a really good job, kind of like at the end of the event, getting out kind of on the floor, right in the middle to make sure everybody's like, kind of separated and did a good job. And I think as a result of that, there was nothing further that happened between the two kind of rival teams, I guess, that were kind of getting heated there. So that was nice. I thought that was really good. Have the officers there. They always seem to do a really good job interacting with the public and very, very friendly and approachable and stuff at all of the events that I've been at and stuff. So that's always good to see.
We have a good relationship with the school district, with providing SROs to the schools, and having the officers there it's a job. It's something to do, but the officers enjoy it because they get to see the kids and the parents of the kids that they see every day. So I'm glad to hear that was positive. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thanks, Richard. For my part, at least with respect to Willamette Lane related items, we too have relied on the school resource officers a handful of times here in the last couple months, helping us to address some disorderly conduct issues at our parks and facilities. We had one instance just a little bit earlier this week that unfortunately resulted in sounds like a significant injury, but really appreciate Springfield Police Department's support in responding to those when we need them, as always. Also wanted to mention that we recently coordinated with some staff from City of Springfield Public Works Division and our park rangers to help produce kind of online educational video around e-bikes and e-mobility devices that I think is going to be really helpful and to the public just understanding how those should be used safely, legally, etc. We will be making updates and amendments to Willamette Lane's park rules, our Ordinance 100, that reflect a lot of that state law that's mentioned in that educational video, particularly around e-bikes and where they can and can't be used within our parks, multi-use paths and trails. So hope to have those adopted and before our board at the March board meeting, which means they would be fully in place come April. But if you get any questions on those, feel free to reach out to me directly. Happy to talk about that. But they are definitely an increasing thing in popularity that we're seeing across the community. And I think many of the consumers and parents that are buying them for their children don't always know what the state laws are around use of those. So I think the more that we can get that message out, the safer we're all going to be. That's what I have to share. So unless there's
Thanks for
anything
bringing that
else.
up, Eric. I appreciate it. We recently had an accident or a traffic crash last 2 months in which a young kid was on a e-bike and when there was a traffic crash with a car and did not end well. So I think a public information campaign is a good idea.
Yeah, I'd hope that SPD was involved or is being looped in on what the campaign that Public Works had prepared, but if not, now you know. So,
Somebody knows, it just may not be me, but I'll ask about it either way.
yeah. And I'm sorry, Councilor Weber, I probably had skipped over you, but is there anything that you'd like to share with the committee?
I don't have anything this evening.
No. Okay. Very good. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. If there's nothing else to mention, we will adjourn. It's 6:52. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome new people. Nice to meet you guys.
Bye.